Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you for being with me again today. Today's video will be about the president of the Ukrainians, Zelensky, coming out and telling his uh, preconditions to start negotiating a peace treaty with Russia under the current circumstances. I think under the current circumstances, I think this demand or that demand that I'm going to discuss in a minute that Mr. Zelensky put forth is a little bit exaggerated, and I will tell you why. Remember, the key word is under the circumstances. So this article comes from Associated Press. I sat on it a day because I didn't know, maybe something else comes up that would reinforce this one, but no. So then I said, okay, it's good enough as it is because it's important. And why is it important? It is important because this will never have any peace treaty or meeting occurring in the future. So let's say it's an Associated Press article from May 25th, 2022, and this is the title. Ukraine says Russia must withdraw to pre-war positions for talks. So Ukraine president said Wednesday that Russia must pull back to its pre-war positions as a first step before diplomatic talks, a negotiating line that Moscow is unlikely to agree to anytime soon. So President Zelensky said he currently sees no willingness on the part of Russia to resume stalled negotiations on ending the 3-month war. So he spoke obviously in front of the World Economic Forum in Davos, where he was invited. All of a sudden, he's part of the biggest elites here. But nevertheless, don't send the invitations. So it says here that Mr. Zelensky also commented or stated that it's possible if Russia shows at least something. When I say at least something, I mean pulling back troops to where they were before February 24th. That's at least something. So for Mr. Zelensky, that's not even something that important. It's just something, at least something. So I wonder what would be the something real that he would like to see Russia doing. So at least something. All right, I believe it would be a correct step for Russia to make, he continued. Zelensky also made clear that Ukraine wants to drive Russian troops out of all captured areas. And I'm quoting, Ukraine will fight until it reclaims all its territories, he said. It's about our independence and our sovereignty. So if we just get Mr. Zelensky's speech and statements in absolute terms or in a perfect situation, circumstance, and in in an abstract, yes, everything he said it's correct. Is correct. That is a part of Ukraine. It has its borders, and that was part of Ukraine. The Russian army invaded a territory that did not belong to Russia, right? It was part of Ukraine, politically was recognized as being Ukraine territory. So from that part, I say, okay, from an ideal thing, someone crossed the border to another country militarily. Secondly, he could ask, okay, now you invaded us. Now we want you to go back in order to discuss. Okay, this would be an ideal, an abstract notion, which I would say, yeah, he's right to do so. The other one is, okay, we will not stop fighting until the invader, in this case Russia, that's for the Ukrainians, unless they are pushed out of the territory that we had and politically owned. Again, in abstract, all all these requests, requirements, ideas are correct. Are correct. That Ukraine, I mean, you have some territories who want to be independent and they declare themselves independent on your territory. Well, that's a process for that. I don't know if that the process was fulfilled. Imagine, for instance, let's say in I don't know, in Germany, that let's say you have um, Bavaria and Munich, right, southern part of Germany, all of a sudden saying, we want to be independent, like they tried to be the, if you remember, in what, in 1920, 21, whenever that was, the communist socialist republic of Bavaria by one Zelensky, another Zelensky in charge, and that was defeated by the German army, got in and solved the problem of the area. So you imagine that, how fair that was, and imagine that, for instance, in any other country, you just have a province where you might have a majority of ethnic something else, and they say, you know what, from now on we want to be independent. What would you do? Because countries are not that homogeneous and as they were before, or not the countries. The borders of the countries are set in such a way that you have people of different nationalities living in that country. For instance, let's say there's a lot of Hungarians living in Romania, there are Romanians living in Hungary. There are Romanians living in Ukraine, there are Ukrainians living in Romania. So imagine all those enclaves would say, you know what, we want to independent, we want to be independent, we want to go back to whomever we want. We will have a mess, because then you have United States with Mexico, right? It will be like about what, 5 states, southwestern states that should go to a different place if they decide to. I mean, what are we going to do? And then those guys going to say, no, you know what? Everybody go out, because this was Indian territory. So why are there countries here? So like this, how far do you go? You got the ancient Greeks. Then Greece should have, almost all around Mediterranean. You go to former what? To the Roman Empire. What do you do? So the reality is different than the abstract. Mr. Zelensky can say that, but what he says, it's an impossibility under the current circumstances. It's an impossibility. Unless you really defeat the Russians, it's an impossibility. And the reality at this point in the field is that the Russians are on the way to accomplish their goals, and they are getting their territories, recognize the independent political people's republics of Donetsk, Lugansk, and whatever else. So this is a situation, and then don't show any signs of like leaving soon. And I don't know what he wants to do, but this is negotiating or setting conditions impossible to meet by the other side. It's unless the Russia says, okay, guys, we destroyed so many things, we killed so many of our soldiers, we destroyed this, let's go now back home. Do you think that's possible? In what realm is that possible? Not even in a dream, in a child's imagination, maybe. So what this tells me is that, that's my assessment, tells me that Mr. Zelensky do not want to engage in any negotiation under the current terms. And as I said, yes, from a legal standpoint for that, yes, that's what he should do. There's nothing wrong with that. But look, in the reality, is that possible? And you say, I don't think so, or not, I don't think so. 99.9%, I don't think so. So what are you going to do? You're going to do like the Poles did with the Germans before Germany invaded Poland in what, September 1st, 1939? Negotiate in bad faith, knowing that the other side can never meet your negotiation points, or you try to make concessions. Well, I don't know. We'll find out, and I think this is a bad start. As I said, in reality, we have this situation. In abstract, an ideal, yes, Zelensky should demand that, but I don't see any signs that the Russians will be willing, able, and whatever to go back, unless the leadership of Russia is somehow overthrown, and then we let's put it aside. You already have two provinces at least like Lugansk, Donetsk, they say that we are independent. What are you going to do with them when the Russians move out? You're going to do what you did in 2014, go and attack them militarily? How could you convince them that their independence is not independence? How would you do that? Because they say no. How can you convince them? Economically? So they will vote, they will do something. You can't, it's like a marriage. You can't uh, keep a partner in a marriage if that person doesn't want to be in a marriage. It's not, however you want to turn it. She's mine because she was given to me by, consensual, agreement. But now she doesn't want to be with you. What are you going to do? What can you do? The same. What are you going to do with those provinces that will say, well, okay, the Russians leave. What are you going to do? We don't want to be with you. We want to be independent. What will you do? Do you think they're going to say they're going to apply the same ideal and the same behavior that they expect the Russians to abide? Like, oh, you're going to go back and you should our territory and so on. No, he's not going to say that. He's not going to say, okay, yes, actually, if you want that, that's fine with us. You go your way, we go our way. That's not going to happen because that's the whole problem from 2014 to now. They were not okay with anything like that. So you see, it's a discrepancy between reality and ideal. So I think Zelensky just, as I said in about a month ago or so, in another video, he's going to ask the moon from the sky to be given to him before he starts any process, and that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's going to be a perpetual war, or I don't know what's going to happen when it's going to end. When the Russians make a strong border, and I don't know. Well, we'll see. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.